So people ask me why I wrote this book, Loving Myself First. And it is a long story, and I'm not going to take up our time today and talk about it. But I will say that it is a combination of emotions, events, activities that I've done, some of my background, and then also the terrorist activities of 2001. So I actually wrote this back in the early 2000s and published it in 2009. And when we had the terrorist activities of 2001, I kind of had like the window to my soul opened up, and I discovered I really didn't like what I was seeing. And I didn't like the person that I was, and I didn't like the person that I had become. And when I looked at my future, I really didn't like the way I was going. So I knew I needed to make some changes. And fortunately for myself, I wanted to make some changes. Because just because you need to doesn't mean anything if you don't want to. Okay? So I took about 2 years of self-discovery. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of looking in. I did a lot of praying. I read a lot of books. And through that, I created some techniques. I found techniques from other people. And I changed. I made myself into a better person, and I'm much happy about that. So then about a year after that, I created a workshop for women, Be the Best You, and helped other women, this is when I was in California, helped other women make some changes if they wanted to in their life. I developed the Home Study Guide, and with the Home Study Guide and about another year worth of work and another year worth of going through reviews, then Loving Myself First was created. So it's been a process of about 10 years, okay, in the making. So in that 10 years, what I have done since looking deep within is I earned my bachelor's degree in business, a master's degree in education. I've started a whole bunch of businesses. I've closed a whole bunch of businesses. I've won some awards. I've been quoted in More Magazine, which is a national magazine for women. I've really developed a great relationship with my 3 children, who are now adults. And then I've had a great relationship with my husband, and we're going on 21 years of marriage. So that's all good. One of the other things that I did was I went through a year-long coach training program. And through the coach training program and all the research that I had already previously done, I really grew inside. Can you hear me okay, Randy? Okay, good. And so I really grew inside, and I really started to love the person that I become. And that's what Loving Myself First is all about, is loving the person that you are, even if you want to make some changes, right? All right, so before we go any further into what's going on with this workshop today, and thank you so much for coming, is that I have a secret for you that I'll tell you a little bit later. And then I also have a confession to make, and I'll tell you that a little bit later. But before we do any of that, we're going to start with an assessment. And this assessment comes out of Loving Myself First, okay? So I do ask that when you do the assessment, that you write down or you answer the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't think about it. Don't try to change your answers, because if you do that, then you're going to try to tell yourself what you think you want to hear. And you're not being fair to yourself if you do that. So during this program, I'm a big one on visuals, visualization, and then also inward thinking. So I'm going to ask you now to close your eyes for me. I'm not going to hypnotize you. I don't have that ability. So
with our eyes closed, it doesn't work.
No. Oh, well, I guess that's a good point, Randy. All right, so close your eyes. And then I would like to know, raise your hand if you came here today because you want to be just a little bit happier. Raise your hand. Keep your hand raised if you want to love yourself maybe just a little bit more. And raise your hand if you want to love life just a little bit more. Now raise your hand, keep your hand raised, or raise your hand if you have that little voice inside your head that tells you that maybe you shouldn't do something, that maybe you should just forget about it because maybe you're not pretty enough or young enough or thin enough, or you fill in the blank. So raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. Okay, so open your eyes. And you'll notice that everybody has their hand raised because everybody has a little voice in their head. They really do. And so most people are basically happy, but there's always something that you can do to be just a little bit more happier. And that life can be good, but if we stay in the same thing, it's going to become a rut. Okay? All right, so very good. Now if you turn your assessments back over. How about you count up the number of no's? The number of no's that you circled on your assessment. All right, so if you circled 13, 14, or 15 no's, woohoo! You are like loving yourself. If you circled 9 to 12 no's, and this is in the book, if you circled 9 to 12 no's, you may be getting manipulated by other people. You might be putting the needs of other people in front of yourself, and you might be saying yes too often instead of saying no, right? If you circled between 6 and 8 no's, you might be suffering from a little bit of depression. You might be missing the significance of the things that you're doing in your daily tasks and daily living. You might be yo-yo dieting, so you might be like binging and then going without food and then eating and going without food. And you might be following fads or celebrities in a kind of an unhealthy manner, right? If you circled no 2 to 5 times, then you might be having a hard time finding happiness in your life. You might be, I'm not saying you are, but you might be suffering from depression, and that would be something that you would want to talk to a healthcare professional about. And you might be unaccepting of yourself in pretty much any manner, right? Because you're really wanting things outside of yourself instead of who you are. And then you might be allowing other people to direct your activities, somebody telling you who you can talk to, who you can't talk to. So it's really an unscientific assessment, but it's just something that you can start off with today to go for where we're going forward in life, which is to build goals that are realistic, that will move our life forward, okay? How did you like that assessment? Yeah, did you find any surprises? Nobody had any surprises? That's good.
I think it just brought it up because you usually don't, just sit there and ask yourself, well, so it kind of, I'm a visual too, so it's like I kind of know those things back there, but then it's good to see it right here and go, oh.
Yeah.
I like the direction you gave about the first thing that comes quickly, instead of thinking about, well, what should I say?
Right.
What's my mind telling me right away?
Right. So the assessment is for you. You can put it in their folder that I provided.
I have a suggestion,
Okay.
because I love taking this kind of thing.
Okay.
Every chance I get, every magazine I've read, every period.
All right.
Anytime it wants to know.
Right.
And it was very obvious to me as I did this that no was a very prominent answer.
Uh-huh.
No.
Mm-hmm.
You got to mix it up. You got to rephrase your question so that even if you have to think about it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
it can't always be yes or it can't always be no. So it's just
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your insights and your introspection on that.
what can I say?
Thank you. Thank you. It is basically written that way for a purpose, but I do appreciate what you're saying. Okay. So in the book Loving Myself First, I talk a lot about the little voice in our head, and I talked about learned behaviors, because the little voice in your head is a learned behavior. It more than often is a negative learned behavior, and you have negative learned habits from it. And when I talk about the book, I talk about our mothers, because especially people that are my age and my generation, our mothers did the best that they could do based on what they received and so forth. And it's kind of like nobody knew that smoking was bad for you. So nobody knew that labeling kids was bad for you. So the book is not about bashing mothers. It's about the negative learned behaviors and how you, excuse me?
The little voice.
The little voice, right, and how you deal with who you are today, right, and how you make yourself into the person that you want to become if you're not that person today. You might be that person today, and that's all good. Okay? All right, so I truly believe that we can be our own worst enemy and our biggest bully, right? Have you ever felt like you looked really good and then you catch a glimpse of yourself walking by the mirror and all of a sudden you feel a little deflated? Has that ever happened to any besides me? Okay. What do you think happened?
Just it's a negative thing that you're telling yourself again.
Right. Right. It's your self-image. It's your self-image that when you go in front of the mirror the first time, you tell yourself you look great. When you're unaware, then you see how that somebody else is going to see you in that negative self-image. It bams you. It is just really, really tough. Until you strengthen that self-image to look at yourself and say, damn, I look good. You know, kind of thing. Very good. Right. So the self-image is also a state of mind. And those are, get back here. It can be our own worst enemy, but it can also be the strength that gets us going. Okay? So our little voice inside our head, it thinks it's our protector. It really does. And a lot of people don't think of it. They just think it's just like this thing. But it's really your protector, because even though it's telling you not to do something because you're too tall, fat, skinny, whatever, it doesn't want you to fail. It doesn't want you to get embarrassed or humiliated. It doesn't want you to, anybody to do anything that's going to counteract what you want to have. You want everybody to love you, respect you, think highly of you, and that kind of thing. So your little voice in your head is saying, don't do that. You don't want to do that, right? Right? So that's what we're going to do. But our little voice that thinks it's our protector, it doesn't know that in order to find true joy in your life or true happiness, that you have to go out there and go through these experiences, because that's how you grow and that's how you become truly happy. So I like to say that our little voice needs a different job. It does. It needs a little different job. And it doesn't, if it's not doing what you want it to do, then you can kind of shape it. And Sarah Brightman, she's a classical English singer. She's a soprano, very beautiful voice. And she sings a song, it's What You Never Know. And so the verse of it is, what you never know won't hurt you. What you never know won't lie. What you never know won't desert you. And what you never know won't say goodbye. Or it won't make you cry. Or you won't ever know unless you try. Right? So if she's telling you that little voice in your head, the things that you never know, it's not going to get you anywhere, is it? You're not going to have those emotions. You're not going to have the up and down, which life is all about, right? So, but we want to give our little voice something else to do. And I ask you, when you think about what you haven't done, think about who haven't you talked to because you were afraid of what they were going to say. What haven't you done because you were afraid of what would happen, right? And then my big things is, what dreams and goals have you really smushed down because you were afraid that you wouldn't succeed? So that's my big thing on I'm a dreams and goals kind of person, right? So those are the little things that we do to think about what's going on in our life. And I'm going to give you an example of how our little voice can get a different job in just a minute, all right? But first, let's talk about what you do know. So I'm going to give you another assessment. Maybe. Now, this assessment is not in my book. This is an IPAC coaching tool that I do with my clients. And what it is with this tool, you're going to circle between 1 and 10 your satisfaction level. Now, it's your level of satisfaction, but there's no 5s, because we're not going to sit on the fence today. No 5s today, right? So as an example, a 1 is, I am totally unhappy. This really blows. And then a 10 is, I'm so happy. This is so great. There's not really that much room for improvement, just to get better, right? And then, like on the financial one, it's not how much money you have in the bank. It's how satisfied you are with your financial situation. All right, so I'm going to give you a minute for that. something needs to change. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a very small thing that somebody gave you a hug and it's the way you felt, or somebody smiled at you, or you talked with your partner and you came with a conclusion, or you figured out a solution to a challenge that you've been having. Whatever it is, it can be small and it can be big, but whatever it is, something should change with you every day, right? Because every day we should be moving toward our goal and toward our happiness, right? So with that in mind, I give you a note sheet, right, that is blank. And what I'd like you to do on that note sheet is just write down 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3. All right. So I'm going to turn the timer on, and you're going to have 15 seconds to write in shorthand, just shorthand, 1, 2, or 3 words. Ready? You're going to answer this question on the first 1, 2, 3. What are 3 things that you are passionate about? All right. How'd that go? Was that wonderful? If you got 3 things written down there, you are on top of your thoughts. All right. So we're gonna do this one more time. Right. It's going to be even easier, but I'm going to give you 20 seconds this time.
Oh, I wrote them all on. I thought it was all one. Oh, I see. You wanted one.
It's okay. So on the next 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Tell me what makes you happy.
Wow.
Okay. How easy was that? Fairly easy? All right, you guys are on top of it. You could walk up to somebody, and most people you walk up, just go up to somebody and say, what makes you happy? And they'll be stuttering for a good 5 minutes. So you guys are like, woohoo, woohoo, give yourself woohoo. Yeah. So it's really important, in my opinion, to really know what you're passionate about and what makes you happy, because otherwise, how are you going to go about your day, right? What are you going to work toward if you're not working toward what makes you happy or what you're passionate about? All right, so that's pretty good. I lost my little thingy here. Come back. All right, we did that. All right, so in loving myself first, this is what this workshop is based on. It's based on chapter 10, which is goal planning. And when I talk about goal planning, I'm talking about whether they're intrinsic goals, something inside of you, or they're extrinsic, something outside of you. As an example would be to get your high school diploma or your college degree is an extrinsic goal. An intrinsic goal would be to learn how to talk to your children better, or listen better, or any of those other interior things that everybody really wants to work on, right? So those are the types of goal planning that I'm talking about. And when I mentioned goal planning, did anything like pop into your head? Please say yes. No. So when we talk about goal planning, was there anything when I was talking about, you got something? Okay. Time? You want to be able to time management?
Yeah, and especially when you get to be my age.
Okay.
I just turned 80.
Well, congratulations. You look fabulous.
Time is really more important than it already.
Yeah.
It's already important, but now it seems to be very,
Right.
very.
Right. Thank you for sharing. That is a fantastic. Yeah. How about anybody else? Did anything else pop in your head about when you talk about goal planning, just on the peripheral?
Mine, I was thinking about continuing my education and just becoming more healthy. Just health in general, yeah. But
Okay.
Continuing education has been something that has just been
Cool.
something that but it's been one of those, like you talked about, that you hinder it in your head. You hinder it.
Well, we're going to talk about techniques that you'll be able to utilize on, if you have a goal, what you might have in some self-defeating behaviors. So we're going to talk about that. And if you don't know what your goals are and stuff like that, as we go through the goal planning worksheet, what I'm going to give you in just a moment, then We'll work on whether it's from the wheel of life or whether it's from what you just brought up. And so then I'll give you different techniques that you can go through. And it's you know, a lot of things to think about when you have a goal. It's not just like, oh, I have a goal, right? Kind of thing, right? All right. So every goal has a hurdle. It doesn't matter what it is. It has a hurdle. And a hurdle is a potential competing commitment. It's a challenge, right? And so every dream that we do, and you're so young, Madeline, that you see as you're going, oh crap, I have all this in front of me. And so every dream that we have and every idea, it all has a hurdle. It all has something we have to get over, something we have to do differently, right? So you're actually in a good spot as you go forward because you'll have these tools and techniques to, you know, skate around a lot of your peers who are struggling going, I don't know why I can't do this. And it's like, well, you can go, well, because you have this competing commitment, you know. And I'll give you a story. It's a very personal story on that in a little bit about competing commitments, okay? So let's see how we're doing. I'm going to use the game of solitaire, which I've already started. In the game of solitaire, if you know me well, like Tammy does, I play solitaire every day. And I think of solitaire like the game of life. Right? So you have your foundation up here, the aces, the twos, the threes, right? In 4 different suits. You have rules you can do. You can only put a king in there. You have challenges. Which 6 are you going to put onto that 7, right? And it's a game, but our game of life, see if I can do this one-handed, is the same way. So we have our self-image. And then these are what Loving Myself First talks about as being the foundational support system for each one of those. So we have goals, we have commitments, optimism, self-worth, potential, discipline, responsibility, and motivation. Every one of those personal characteristics and what a level you have affects your self-image. So if you don't have a lot of self-responsibility, it's going to be really difficult to be disciplined to do the things that you feel that you need to do. If you don't have the optimism or the belief that you can do something, it doesn't matter how much potential you have, you're not going to believe you can do it, right? So each one of these are a foundation, just as our thing of self-image. When we're playing the game of solitaire, just like in life, we always make these choices and we continue playing, right? Great. But it doesn't matter what we do, so we can put our 6, we make this choice. It could be a right choice or it could be a wrong choice, right? We don't know. We don't know what's underneath it, do we? It's the same thing in life. When we're making a decision whether we're going to go to school or we're going to work full time, or whether we're going to date this guy or not date this guy, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's still a choice. It's still a challenge. It'll have a pro and a con. Yeah, we would go through our pack. And our first thing would be a queen of clubs. Well, we can't play it. And then we have an 8 of diamonds. We can't play it. And then we have a 5 of spades. We can't play it. We're doing everything we can in life. We're going through everything we can do in life, and we're still not getting anywhere. We're taking our chances. We're going to school, but then we come up on the king, and the king can be played, right? So we play our king. Then we have a 4 diamonds. Here we thought we're going forward in life and we're stuck again, right? Kind of like the game of life. Can't play our 8. We're stuck. What are we going to do? So we're going through our opportunity pile and we got nothing. We got nothing. We're not moving forward. We're not doing anything. Nothing, right? So it's not until we start throwing in other things in our life. Well, maybe I'll look into my hobbies. How's my time, right? Is time going to be, is it going to move me forward? Is it going to become an obstacle? What is it going to do for me? Okay, Randy's really onto that. What about, do I have any health challenges? Is my health going to move me forward or is it going to move me back? What do I need to do? Do I have commitments with my family? How is that going to be? How is that going to help me or hinder me, right? What about our personal relationships? You know, here comes that challenge again. Do I take a promotion or do I change jobs? So through our game of life, it's just like in solitaire, we always have challenges. We always have decisions to make. And then we have this little voice in our head that is telling us what we should do, right? We have other challenges that we go through. But there's our big one right there, right? Fear. Fear is, come on. I have some quotes for you that I'd like to share about fear. Les Brown says that many of us are not living our dreams because we're living our fears. That's what Les Brown says. Jack Canfield, author of, Chicken Soup for the Soul, he says that everything you want is on the other side of fear, right? Fears are stories we tell ourselves. Fears are false evidence appearing real. You have a little acronym there. Fears are risks and dangers are real, but fears are a choice. You choose to be afraid. You choose to be in fear. And then another acronym for fear, and I really like this one, is forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. So as you're thinking about fear, or whether you should do something, or whether you should move forward or not do something, think about that. Because if you don't do things, if you don't continually put new things into your game of cards and your opportunities, you're going to stay stagnant and your life's not going to move forward. It's just going to stay the same thing day in and day out. And how happy can you be with that? It's really difficult to be with that.
What was that last quote about fear and then rise?
Fear everything,
And run.
face everything, and rise.
She is on it. You're going to come to my next one on February 6th, right, Randy? All right, so like without goals, we're like that stockpile that just keeps going around. And that's why I think that's why I do this for free. I think this goal is so important to have goals. Be little goals, big goals, something to move your life forward. So loving myself first, it builds on those foundations so that you can face your fears and go on, so that you can build on your foundation of your self-image. And that's why I wrote the book. So let's get your stockpile moving. I have the handy dandy goal planning workshop, and we're going to go through this together. It's not going to take too long because there's not a lot of people. All right. So, but we're going to do it, and please, some of you that are really, really quick, let's walk through this without you guys filling it out. The first thing I ask you, this first one way up here at the top, is what is one goal, just one goal that you would like to do, something that you would like to change. Small, little, big, doesn't matter. One goal. And then we'll move on. So Madeline, is this going to be okay for you? It's not really, it's just going to be a throw-up thing here and there. All right. And Randy, you can hear me okay? All right. All right. So after you determine what your one goal is, and then you can do this again. Go ahead.
I don't know if I have a different worksheet or I'm starting on the wrong side. There you
Oh.
go. I'm thinking, this is one. Thank you.
You have the same worksheet.
Okay.
All right, so after you have your one goal, Then you're going to determine your why. Your why is critical. And the reason why I say that your why is critical is because every goal comes with a challenge. And usually for a goal, you have to give up something. There's something that you have to do different. And we don't like to give things up, especially bread. So your why needs to be very, very important to you, and it needs to be personal. It can't be, I want to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds so my partner finds me more attractive and more desirable. It can't be about your partner or your husband or your wife or whatever. It has to be about you. Now, you can say, I want to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds because I want to be healthier, because I'm borderline diabetic, or because my knees hurt, or whatever the reason is. But it has to be about you. It needs to be about your health, your safety, your life. And I'm not being over dramatic here, because change is really, really difficult. It's really difficult, and the stronger your why that you can hold up in front of you, this is why I'm doing it, is important. You'll find that out as you go along. So then the next thing that you have on here is, what are your ideas for accomplishing these goals? So what do you need to learn? What do you need to do first or second? You know, if education is your goal, what do you have to first do? What are some ideas? You're just jotting ideas as they pop in your head. Okay, after you've jotted a few ideas on how you can implement your goal, you definitely want to have a time frame. So by when do you want to achieve this goal? Be specific. Be reasonable. Don't say, I want to get my high school diploma in 6 months and you still got 1.5 years of school left. That's not going to make it. But be reasonable. Within the next year or two, not year or two, within the next year, or within the next 2 years, one or the other, be specific. I would like to achieve blank. So figure out what is a reasonable time frame to achieve this one goal. After you've looked at what your time frame is when you want to achieve your goal, that's when you're going to look at what obstacles are you going to face. And you might as well go ahead and think about them now, because whether you think about them or plan for them, they're going to happen regardless. So if you take the time to think of everything that could go wrong with achieving this goal, then you're more able to make a plan of action to overcome that challenge, to overcome that obstacle. So for as example, if you want to get healthy, that usually involves changing how you eat. If you are single and you're at home by yourself, that's okay. You're not really affecting anybody. But if you are in a family or you have a significant other, everything you do affects those around you. So if you want to start eating healthy, I highly recommend the Garden Spot Market. No. No, if you want to become healthy, you're going to start eating different food. How is the people that live in that house with you, how are they going to react to that? Are they on board with that? Are they going to make those changes? Are you going to be preparing meals for 2 different people, yourself and others? Are you going to be shopping for yourself and others? So all of these challenges, remember, everything you do, unless you live in a little bubble, affects other people and their support system. So one of the next questions is, I think, is who can help you or no? So how can I prevent the challenges or go through them, around them? So that is putting some ideas down. So you can have, maybe if you're doing the healthy eating, you can have a menu up and say, I'm making this, who wants it? You know, the barley and rice potato cakes kind of thing. Or what else would you like? You know, think about just jot down some ideas that you can use to overcome those challenges and obstacles. You know, for most of us, how much is this going to cost? How am I going to be able to pay for this? How am I going to be able to shop for myself to eat healthy, which is expensive, instead of buying the other stuff? So now I'm going to have to buy two. How am I going to do this? Am I going to be able to afford it? What can I do? That's one of your obstacles, one of your ideas to think about as you're making your goal, if eating healthy is your goal, right? But even if you want to become more fit, then you're going to have exercise paraphernalia and equipment, maybe a gym membership. Then you're going to have fuel going to and from the gym membership, unless you live within walking distance or ride a bike. All those things play into it. All of those things are added expenses. So definitely include what the cost of something is over when you're looking at obstacles. And then you want to look at resources. Who can help you achieve your goal? Bringing somebody on board is really important, because at that time when you need support, that person can help you. And if you're doing an intrinsic goal, like you want to become a better listener, at the beginning of your goal, you can talk with them about what your goal is, and they can tell you how they think you are right now. And then they can tell you how you are in 6 weeks or in a month, whatever during your milestones, because that'll be under how are you measuring success. Now, if your goal is to get rid of all the negative people in your life, and you know your spouse or your partner or your best friend is one of those negative people, I'd tread carefully on sharing my goal with them. But at the same time, you can bring them onto your happiness train. So you go ahead and turn your paper over when you're ready. And that is, I'm going to tell you about competing commitments. And I'm going to share a story with you about a competing commitment of my own. And what these are is they're unknown. They're things that are going on in your life that you were unaware about. So I was in the Army since the time I was 17. I'm not in there now. But since the time I was 17. So when I went in the Army, I was 17. I was in shape. I've always had boobs and I've always had a butt. For some people, they're attracted to that. I'm talking men. And so when I was 17 and older, I was not significantly prepared to handle the attention. I didn't know how to say, no, I'm not interested, or not hurt somebody's feelings. I just wasn't prepared. So it was a big thing for me. So on the one hand, being in the Army, I need to be in shape. I want to be healthy. I want to look good. You know, all the normal things. On the other hand, my mind's going, I don't want this guy coming on to me. I don't know what to do about it. I don't know who to talk to about it. I don't know how to handle it. So I started to gain weight, because I found that when you gain weight, men aren't so attracted to you, right? So I had the one hand, being my Army career, I needed to weigh X amount and be in shape. And then my competing commitment, where I didn't want the attention, so I would gain the weight. And I couldn't figure out why I kept gaining weight. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't figure this out until a year ago. We're like years down, way past 17 now. So, and that's because I went through coach training. That's because I started doing all the self-coaching and asking those questions like, what is going on? So there's another part to that, is that now that I realize that, and I don't have all these guys coming on to me anymore, and I realize what it is, now I'm at the point where I still am convincing myself, or have to change my mind thinking on what an attractive body is for. It's a health thing. It's not a sexy thing, right? So everybody has competing commitments, not necessarily like that. But let's say that your primary goal is you want to be a great leader. You want to have a great team. Your competing commitment might be that you're not going to give all the information because you don't want them to know more than you. You don't want them to surpass you. But you don't know you have this until you really start doing self-analyzation, okay? Or you go through coaching. One or the other. But you can do it. And loving myself first, I do say it does help, because you start to learn who you really are. And that's the whole point of the book. And you really become comfortable. It's okay that Tammy looks better than me. It's okay that Randy knows more than I do. And then you have to learn how to deal with that and be okay with that. Do you follow me? All right. So, resources, our little voice. I said that in the way of, with my weight as an example, I have to give my little voice a different thing. So instead of being a fear leader, which is what it was, my little voice is now a cheerleader. So my little voice gets to cheer when I choose something healthy to eat, which is my goal, instead of something that I'm too lazy, like a grilled cheese sandwich. Not healthy, by the way. And that, because bread is not healthy for you. So anyway, so my cheerleader gets to go, woo, 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 you know, when I do the right thing, or when I choose to exercise over the 10,000 things I have to do. So when I'm doing what I want to do and what's meeting my goal, my little voice is now my cheerleader. My little voice is also my cheerleader and my appreciation monitor when I do have that chocolate, or when I do have that steak, or I do have that garlic bread, because I'm okay with that. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to appreciate it. And then I'm going to go back to eating my normal healthy stuff. So instead of being a fear leader going, oh, you're the worst, or you can't do that, or you can't make it, or you can't, you know, not do something, I changed my thought process. So that's what you can do as well when is figure out how to change the voice in your head from a fear leader to a cheerleader. You have to give them a significant job, one that makes a big difference and that matters towards your goal. Does it work? Yes, it does. And I feel a lot better about myself. And I feel a lot better about going towards my goals and doing the things that make me healthy. But at the same time, if I want to have a piece of pizza, I can have a piece of pizza and I'm not going to feel bad about it because it's okay, right? All right, so as you look deep within, you find that meaningful job. That also has to go back with what's your why, right? As you're going through on your whole goal planning sheet, you know, there's a lot of questions on here that you're going to go through and you're going to answer because they all strengthen your what and your why. And your why's got to be critical. Because there's a question on here that says, what happens if you don't achieve your goal? If nothing happens, how likely are you going to achieve your goal? Not very likely. Because there's no benefit in there. There's nothing kicking you. There's no motivation. Your why needs to be so important that you're going to make it over the hurdles, that you're going to make it over the challenges, right? Is everybody with me on that? So you want to do your what, you do your why, you think of all the things that you need to learn, you do your steps, right? And when you're asking about on here, it says, you know, what's the first thing that you're going to do? That's going to depend upon your goal. That's going to depend upon what you exactly want to do, but you want to plan for it in advance. So let's say that you want to start eating healthy. So you want to talk to your family, if you have a family. That would be the first thing in my mind. Talk to my family. Tell them what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how it's going to affect you. I hope you're on board with this. I want your support. I need your support. Here's why I'm doing it. And then you've done that first initial communication. Then you've got to think about what's your menu. Get everything in advance before you try to put yourself on a diet and the only thing you have is chocolate chips in the refrigerator, you know, kind of thing. So you definitely want to make all those different preparations before you even attempt to start to make your goal. Here's when my goal is going to start. Here's what I'm going to do. And you plan out those things, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So, but before you can do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 25, you have to really believe that you can do it. So, like Randy wants to do more time management. She has to believe that she can do it. For some people, oh, time management, that's no big thing. I got all, you know. But for some people, Randy seems like she's a very nice person. So a lot of people probably put competing commitments on her. They want her time. They want her to do things for her. And when she's doing things for other people, how is she going to be doing things for herself? Right?
It doesn't help that I have 9 children.
No, I bet it doesn't, does it? 9 children, wow. I have 3. That's enough. Well, congratulations on the 9 children, Randy. But so, you know, so what I'm saying is that is we all have our competing commitments, whether we know them or not. And our competing commitments might be outside of us, right? So it's really having that person that can be with you. On here it talks about how will you measure success, right? You can't just go la 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 along without checking on how you're doing. Like if you want to lose weight at the week 1, week 2, week 3, where are you at? What's working, what's not working? Reevaluate, right? And then how do you measure it? Are you making that progress, right? And then if it's an intrinsic goal, that's why I came back and said, well, if you talk to somebody at the beginning and you get that support system, then you're going to be able to come back and say, how am I doing? And then Lisa, right? Lisa can say, well, you only interrupted me 16 times. You know, that's a lot better than 42. You're making progress, right? 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 So all those fears that we all have inside of us, that we keep bottled up, that keep us from doing those things, when you build on your foundation, then you're able to make that progress that you're looking for, right? And believe that you can do it. And then down that very last question is, what is your mantra, right? That's that one go-to thing that you can think of every day that can help you. It can be something like, every day is a step towards my success. And you say that. Or, I love me and this goal will make me healthier. And you believe that. Or you can say something like, I'm truly worthy of what life has to offer. You know, whatever it is that's true to you and that resonates with you. So in closing, I have a visualization exercise I would like to do for you. So if you would, put your pens down, both your feet on the ground. And you're going to pretend that you have a magic wand. All right, so everybody's going to have a magic wand. And when I ask you to wave your magic wand, you can wave it how you want, but you really only have to just go like that. All right? Just, it's a very special magic wand. All right? So I'd like you at this time to sit comfortably, sit back, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and relax. Try to clear your mind. Now imagine feeling content with life and with yourself. Imagine how good it feels to be pursuing your dreams with the belief that you can achieve them. Imagine what a role model you are for your children or for your siblings. Imagine how good it feels to make the true statement that you can achieve your goals. So imagine all of that. Now, if you would, I'd like you to spread your magic wand out, and you're going to spread your life in front of your eyes. And I'd like you to remember, what is that first image, that very first image that shows up on your canvas of life? Memorize that first image. And then continue to look at your life as the magic wand has shown it to you. Now take a deep breath. With your eyes still closed, turn off your vision. Put your wand away. Recall that first image that came to your mind. Is your dream from years past? Is it an image from a happy event? Did you see yourself laughing or smiling, surrounded by people who love you? Did you achieve a milestone or a goal? I hope so. Please take another breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And that's what loving myself first is all about, is finding the joy and the love within yourself. Okay? How was that?
Great.
All right, so we're all done. So hopefully that the worksheets will help you with your goals. Does anybody have any questions?